Hey, it's great to have somebody who is knowledgeable. They can inspect the house. They know what can go wrong. Hey, might know somebody that can make it look good too. Stay tuned for. Welcome to the Your Little Castle Show. Yours truly, Carter Rethwish, a.k.a. the Cardinal Cowboy. It's home opener week here, as when we're recording this particular interview, but we like to talk construction, inspections, and make sure that these buildings we're staying in are safe to live in. We have the Sherlock of homes, Frontline Property Inspection, Todd Mayer, the owner and operator. Todd, welcome to the studio.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you having me.
Well, we love helping businesses on the show that really know all perspectives and
Sure.
like being a guy who's had a mortgage license for many years and understanding how much goes into the inspection process. Like it can be the game changer, the deal breaker for somebody. But you make sure that somebody has a house, they're getting what they paid for. And boy, the rules have changed. We've seen kind of a swing here in the last few years. Why did you decide to get into this industry?
Well, honestly, it's pretty easy. Like I've spent most of my career prior to owning this business or starting this business in the trades and the construction management, project management market with residential, light commercial. So the knowledge to walk into a home was something I had already acquired, and it was just a great transition to help people.
Yeah, and you've got also, you do a lot of construction stuff too. You've got a construction and design company as well. We're going to talk about that a little bit as well. But with that, we'll give a shout out to our sponsors, Carroll House Furniture, because you like nice things in your little castle. And that little castle might have been inspected, and there might have been construction done by our guest here, Todd, and his Frontline, who does a lot of great work. So we throw up our little logo there. Build your little castle. Because you like nice things in your little castles, the full phrase there, we got it there. And here is your inspection site, and we've got in Facebook and Instagram, and we got everything here. Let's
all
put up
things. Yeah.
We got all things media. Boy, hasn't that changed the way the world functions these days? There's the Frontline page.
Sure.
To cover both businesses. You kind of got covered there with that Facebook page. Got a lot of followers there. A lot of great reviews too. We're going to go over that a little bit as well. But your history, how did you land here? Started with inspections and then doing construction, or how did that migrate?
Well, just the majority of my career being in the trades. I've always been in the trades, even if I was doing something different, right? I've always had a side project or doing work for friends and family and whatnot. So I think probably when COVID hit, which, so many people pivoted during COVID, right?
Sure.
Interesting part is I had a new baby coming in, and so my wife and I decided that it'd be best if I stay home and take care of our 6-month-old son. So after COVID settled down, I pivoted. It was something that kind of came naturally, like home inspections. Was something I could take on myself, start on my own, and grow, entirely on my own for the most part. And it was just a very easy pivot and transition into that market.
Yeah, well, like I said, very necessary. The inspector has a lot of control and understands a lot about the construction of a building, and even more than maybe a lot of the construction guys do. They're like, hey,
Sure.
Put it up, make it work,
Yeah.
fit it in, tap that together. But you're going and saying, that won't pass. It can help people to figure out some of the best things they need to have to make sure they're on path to. And then you do the construction now as well.
Yeah, and in some cases that does happen. Some, not necessarily repairs, but home projects. Majority of home buyers spend the bulk of their money in the first year of ownership, right? So what I found myself running into is people wanting a new deck or wanting a covered patio or something like that. And all of that's, in our wheelhouse. And so it made a lot of sense to kind of open up that part or division of our business to where we can be of service. But the inspection is so much more than just like right and wrong, right? It's about education. It's about I have a responsibility to my buyer or my seller, right? If we're doing a pre-listing inspection, to educate them, right? Well, this is what you can expect. Is this a reasonable piece of the puzzle to expect? Is the sense of urgency, is it calibrated correctly, right? Is somebody making a big deal out of nothing? But more importantly, creating a relationship and trying to remove as much of the stress as I possibly can. So.
Well, yeah, there is. It is. They say buying a house, selling a house can be the most stressful thing that anyone goes through, other than being in front of people to speak in front of a crowd of like 10,000 people, right?
Yeah.
But it's a lot to deal with, and I've done it
Sure.
a couple of times myself. But getting a house built and all of the parameters, selling the house was the most. I had to put smoke alarms. I'll never forget. The guy came in, and we got wires hanging out. He looked at it, he goes, "Looks like you guys know what you're doing. I'm on to the next one. You
Yeah.
pass." I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. But those are the things you have to deal with.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about your team. Or is this something on
So-
your own, and how do you incorporate? Who do you work with?
So I say we because I hold my colleagues and my partners really close, right? And I've got good relationships with my partners. And when I say partners, as a general contractor, these are my vendors. These are guys I work with day in and day out. And Mike Clement with Clement Construction, Tim Keener with Modish Design Builds. These are just small guys just out there putting together quality work, and we partner together and we go out and we can produce some really, really great projects with really, really good outcomes. So outside of that, it's me, but we're a growing business. We're businesses, right? So as the market demands more, we have to adapt and grow to take care of those people wanting work.
Yeah, well, and like I said, it's an exciting space to be in because construction in general, like you're literally building the home that somebody's going to raise the kids and
Sure.
the most valuable asset that they're going to own.
Sure.
And so they've got to have it past inspection, and they want to have it built with good quality. And it's great to see somebody's got kind of a handle on both sides of that to make sure people
Sure.
are on the right path because they don't want to spend a lot of money on something that's going to fall apart, and they want to make sure that they can sell this
Yeah.
thing later and get the equity out of it or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
For them to do so. What about this actually fuels your passion? Obviously, you've stayed in this industry now for 25 years. What makes you wake up every day?
So it was kind of like this evolution. When I was younger, it was like go get a job, start a career, make a living, raise a family. And as you get older, as we know, you start to really find out what's important in your life. And inevitably, relationships with people, good relationships with people, and then being of service, right? I know it may sound cliche, but with home inspections, especially first-time home buyers, they're walking into something they've never experienced before, and it's a huge responsibility. So I have the opportunity to kind of walk them into that and make it not as scary as maybe one might think. And then on the construction side, I get to create, right? I get to create from nothing, typically something that's imagined by a homeowner. And I get to put these pieces of the puzzle together and make it come to fruition for these folks. And the whole challenge is, when I'm done, they want me to come back and do their next project, right? Because it's unfortunate, but, contracting, construction, it's tough. If you're not capable of nurturing a relationship and taking care of people, you're going to have a hard time doing good in that industry.
Well, yeah, given kind of your migration through to this to where you're at now,
Sure.
the experience you bring to the table kind of is. If you would expound upon that a little bit more, does it give you an advantage to having the inspections background when it comes to doing construction?
Well, I think being in the service industry, right, naturally makes me more empathetic, maybe, or more considerate. And the fact that I have a lot of real world experience. I was in the fire and insurance industry for most of my career. Okay, so I'd walk in to people's homes in some of the most tragic times in their life, and I'd have to navigate, getting their home from a traumatic mess, maybe it was a large fire, back to where they're moving their furniture in and trying to put their life back together. So I think it's kind of unique. Not every contractor has that experience, but being able to then go to a service portion where you're trying to inspect a home, help people, buy with confidence, right? And then, take an idea that somebody has and they're like, who am I going to have do it? Who do I feel comfortable with? Who do I trust? And then be that person because of those experiences that I've had.
And you throw in the insurance background out there. That adds another area of expertise. But
Sure.
and how to deal with the insurance companies, what you should expect, what should they pay for, how often they say, hey, we're not covering that, and you can say, wait a minute, here's why you should. Does that give you a little more leg up too?
For example, I met with a gentleman yesterday who, he's out in Des Peres. He's still recovering from, the loss a year ago where they had high winds and tornadoes and all that stuff, and just being able to relate with him. I mean, I'm way past the point where he started his claim and probably got a payout already. Probably settled on some sort of scope of work, right? I'm coming in kind of after that. But I can relate with him. I can talk him through. I know this is retail / we have insurance proceeds. So I know kind of what he's working with, and being sensitive to that, and then being able to talk, not necessarily policy, but process. Like, how are they getting paid? What kind of depreciation is there in the payment coming from the insurance company, and where they're at in that process. So it helps when you can kind of communicate and talk that language with a customer or homeowner that's kind of going through that.
Yeah, I'd say that's a big advantage. Write this one down. When you've got an expert who's got insurance background, inspection background, and construction, now you can really help somebody get covered to make sure that you get everything done properly, because the last thing you want to do is have a house that goes down in value in a market where you talk about houses were going for $150,000 and now they're going for $300,000 within a couple of years. The industry has definitely changed.
Sure.
And I thought I did. Boy, this new phone, it vibrates pretty loud too. But literally, like, the way we want to make sure that our guests and our viewers understand is we're trying to bring some of the best experts here, and so you really kind of exemplify that. With that, we've got a lot of great reviews. I'm going to put these up on the wall here for everybody. But where do we start? We've got them here, and this is your Frontline. Construction, and I'll come back to that one. The other one here we have, and 87 Frontline inspections, 87 reviews. Everything you've received so far is a 5.0. But let's jump in here and just share a couple of these. Todd was extremely detailed and thorough with his inspection of our home. He did a great job providing details on his findings in a way that helped us understand each item. With Todd's help, my wife and I are going into this purchase with eyes wide open. We recommend Todd for anyone in need of an inspection. Make you feel good? I mean, this is what you work towards. I mean, you got 87 of these things. What's going on here?
Well, you start a business and they're like, hey, you need some reviews, and you're like, okay, I'll make a Google page, right? A business page. And I've approached every inspection, every customer, every client, whether it's construction or inspection, like this opportunity to create a relationship, right? For life, right? So, I did a lot of homework on the front end of doing these, starting these businesses or getting involved in this business. And there's a lot of like rough, not great feedback, right? So, if I'm smart about it, I'm going to try to, do the complete opposite of that. And naturally, I enjoy creating those relationships. So it's been great. Everybody, like I joked about, they're all my friends. And they became my friends is how that worked. And it is a big source of pride, and it's really cool to have those. And those are genuine reviews. You know what I mean? They're not. I didn't solicit those.
Yeah, so you can tell some of these are paragraphs long. The solicited ones are like, they did great.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, 5-star. No
5-star. Right.
So,
well, that's good news, and we appreciate the effort you're making to impact our community. With that, we're going to share some of the community excitement we're involved with. Guns and Hoses. If you're a supporter of fire and police, we get to engage in this event every.
Featuring Kansas City versus St. Louis. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, Standing 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighing in at 160 pounds, representing Kansas City Guns and Hoses and the Platte County, Missouri Sheriff's Office. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hannah Blacklock. And her opponent fighting tonight out of the blue corner. At 5 feet 7 inches tall, she weighed in at 159 pounds. And she represents St. Louis Guns and Hoses and the Belleville Police Department. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Angelina Free!
You don't want to pick a fight with these girls.
His name is Carter Rethwich, but in St. Louis, he's known as the Cardinal Cowboy. He's a well-known fixture in the stands at sporting events in the Gateway City. He's one of its greatest cheerleaders, a super fan like no other. When he makes his rounds at almost every home game, he shares his love for sports with the rest of fandom with a smile, a cheer, some positive encouragement, and lots of selfies and pics. But the Cardinal Cowboy was born of a tragic incident. Rethwich was an aspiring athlete in high school and college. He dreamed of playing in the big leagues, but those dreams ended when he and 3 of his college friends were hit with a devastating crash by a 5-time drunk driver. One of his best friends died. Carter suffered a critical head injury. The trauma put him in a coma for 6 days. The doctors said he was never expected to function again. Those expectations never came true. He fought back and finished college. He was determined to prove the doctors wrong. Among other inspirations, it was his love of baseball that kept him going. And from his near-death experience, the Cardinal Cowboy emerged. His goal in life became to inspire others with positivity despite the odds, to help people believe in themselves and achieve their dreams.
So after my coma, I realized that it was up to me if I was going to accomplish my goals, if I was going to reach my dreams. Despite what the naysayers would say, the people that were discouraging me, like they do everyone, it's up to me if I'm going to make it. Don't listen to the naysayers. It's up to you. You decide whether you're going to succeed, whether you're going to reach your goals. Dream, and then always, always chase your dreams. Never give up. Giddy up. By now, we are on ABC 5 times a week. So many businesses are loving what we're doing to help them get their name out there. We'll sit right here in our guest chair, right here, sitting here talking to us. We're going to put on the wall your website and everything about you, and highlight you as a leader. Fill out the form you see here on our website. It's bigleagues.com, and if you go to bigleagues.com, fill out this form. Takes just a couple seconds, and you can even schedule yourself right here. Schedule yourself to be on the show, and there's no charge for us to record you. There's no charge to be in the studio. Check it out if you would like to be on. Fill out the form again, bigleagues.com. This is where we can turn any interview into a series of clips. Professional video on your website closes more sales by instantly building trust, clearly explaining complex products, and keeping visitors engaged longer, reducing bounce rate by 34%. It'll help you to gain that credibility, increase engagement, simplify complex tasks, lower your sales friction, and boost your rankings on the search engine. So this is all kind of a no-brainer. See how we've now had over 500 interviews and now almost 250 different business owners. Go to bigleagues.com. That's bigleagues.com. Go to bigleagues.com and get signed up. You can schedule right from there. So with that, we are always looking for business experts to bring on the show here to talk about, share some of their knowledge and give us a little insight. We've got somebody here that really knows their stuff when it comes down to it, to have all of the different realms you've had some expertise with: insurance, inspections, construction. You're really on it here and can help a lot of people. Tell me though, let's do a little cost analysis. Most people are, the number one thing they always ask is, what is it going to cost? You know, whether that's the inspection, the remodel, or what's the insurance company going to cover. Tell me though, what are some of the areas where you would say, here's some place you definitely don't want to cut corners. Here's why you want to do this the right way, especially when you're talking about a house.
Okay, so when it comes to purchasing a house, right? Like for the sake of liability, I'm always going to say get them all. Get all the inspections, right? Learn as much as you possibly can about the house. There are some common inspections, and generally speaking, your average inspection costs, if you get all of, the home inspection, the termite, the radon, the mechanical gas inspection, the sewer inspection, all those are going to run you anywhere between $1,100 and $1,500, right? At the very least, not getting those inspections leaves you completely open to some pretty expensive situations if you find out down the road that your sewer lateral has issues. Maybe there's a belly that's clogged, or you got old cast iron or clay that's offset, or and it's 14 feet down in the ground and it's going to cost you 15, 20 grand to fix, right? So that's kind of a general explanation of you can either get the information now or roll the dice and hope you don't need to know the information later.
Not necessarily rolling the dice. That seems, it insinuates you're gambling there, right? You're saying, hey,
you kind of
we're going to take the chances.
You kind of are.
We don't want to gamble with our house.
No. There's some things and to each his own. I don't have any skin in the game, right? So I make my services available, so you only have to go to one place to get them. It's very, I make it very user friendly. I do all the logistics and scheduling and all that good stuff. So really all you got to do is ask your questions up front, make sure you're comfortable, and then show up, if you want. Otherwise, I'll spend as much or as little time as you want going over what you're purchasing and all the information that we've gathered. So as far as inspection side's concerned.
Yes, well, that's important because obviously we want to make sure that things are properly inspected, because we want to hear about the house burning down because they missed the gas line or they missed the electrical wire and was hanging out, and those are the types of things. Well, tell me, why should somebody choose you? You bring a lot to the table here, but what are things that we kind of covered that, but reiterate.
Well, I think my experience just in general in the trades, it offers quite a bit, right? And it's real world experience. And in the home inspection side, I've got a lot of friends and colleagues that do the same thing. But there's a lot of companies out there that put people in an inspection situation with very limited experience, right? Like, I went through an ASHI certified school to learn how to do a home inspection, which has to do with a template and a process. It has very little to do about knowledge, about real world knowledge with the home. So regardless of who you hire, you definitely want to make sure that the person showing up to your home has that knowledge. They know what to look for, what's important, what's maybe not so important, right? Because the biggest takeaway, or probably one of the biggest problems is, somebody showing up, doing inspection, and scaring the heck out of your buyer, and, not knowing how to talk to people, not knowing how to come up with solutions to any given problem, and that can kill a deal. It can make people upset. It can cost people a lot of money, and especially when it doesn't need to be that way. So I think my experience and my ability to walk through that process, because of what I've actually seen, what we've actually seen, and the people that I work with, my colleagues that kind of do some of those ancillary services like the sewer inspections and the radon and the termite inspections, and having the correct license to do those things if the state requires that, right? So just everything's above board. We're all insured, and we're trying to walk the right path and take care of people versus just how many inspections can we do this year,
Right.
And then on the construction side, really is what works, what doesn't work. A lot of times in older homes, you got to improvise and figure out a way to make what you want work. And the fact that we've been in so many homes and been in this industry long enough to where we've seen quite a bit. So improvising isn't as difficult. And then having the resources, right? That's a big piece. I look at my business as I'm a small contractor. You get a small contractor feel with big contractor resources. So.
Yes, and coming across the board there, I mean, that's a great way to put it, because so many people, like, do they have the knowledge? Do they have the experience? Do they have the background? You've got all those sources because you're coming in with so much experience and the connection, and that's what your businesses do to make sure that these things are done. You talked a little bit about your certifications there. What is ASCII? What does that mean? And what are your bonded, insured, all that kind of stuff too?
So ASCII is our Home Inspection Trade Association.
Okay.
And they kind of write the rule essentially on best practice, standards of practice in doing a home inspection, because not every state is regulated and requires a license. And even those that are, like Illinois, for example, the standard that ASCII requires you to follow to be a part of or be a member of ASCII is way more comprehensive than any other state, right?
Okay.
So we default to that, and that's going to give you the most comprehensive template that gets followed when we do your home inspection, right? So, and I look at these inspections as another set of eyes, right? I don't like to think that I'm, better, smarter, know more, but I know that if I look at something and then you look at something, we both can miss it. But if that third person comes behind and looks at, he can catch it. So it's not a competition really. We're just trying to make sure that we're taking care of people and doing it the right way. So.
Yeah, like we talked, there's a lot at stake, and you don't want to have a house that ends up burning down or having something that you don't catch. A deck falls off the back of a building, and they go, why didn't you catch that? Because
well, and what if what if you buy a house and I miss something, and 3 months down the road you're like, hey, this wasn't on the report. I'm liable for that, right?
Right.
So being able to walk through that which fortunately I have been pretty fortunate in not finding myself in that situation. But I think what's important is, because of the experience, I'm not wasting my time maybe doing something or looking at something that's not horribly relevant when I know exactly where to go. Because really what I'm doing is I'm looking for evidence, and I'm trying to speculate, how the house has been taken care of. If I see evidence of one particular item, it's going to lead me to another place, and I'm going to start kind of connecting the dots on any one home, right? And then when I do walk with you, you know exactly what you're buying. You know what I mean? And that, when it goes back to, like, if you're in an inspection notice timeline where you have to go back to the seller and present your deficiencies, like, hey, we found these items. I want a credit or I want them fixed. You have the right list of items. You know what I mean?
there you have it. Somebody that obviously has got the bases covered and spent some time in the industry. It's good to have somebody sharing that kind of knowledge with us. You're watching the Your Little Castle show, but pay attention to Frontline Property Inspection, and Todd Mayer here knows what he's talking about. Stay tuned. This is the Your Little Castle show.